Hello, everybody, and welcome into my live broadcast. Today it is Friday, April the 14th, 2023. Of course, I am Kerry Holzman, and welcome into our latest live, unscripted, one-take, anything goes. It is how it is, live YouTube broadcast, where I will be building a little streaming computer that has multicam input, 4 HDMI inputs on it. And the trick on this one is basically the technology is surpassing the requirements of software, and it's been that way for some time. As a result, you don't need to always have the latest and greatest in order to just be able to get a job done efficiently and productively. In fact, the machine I've got in front of you was all the rage, all the talk at CES just about 3 years ago. And now it sells for about half the price. And in fact, I got it even cheaper than that as a returned item on Amazon. This is the Intel NUC 9 Extreme Kit. It's a bare bones kit. Bare bones means you have to provide your own RAM, your own storage. And in our case, we also need a capture card, and we'll talk more about that. And of course, you have to provide your own operating system. Now, they do sell these as i7s and i9s. This is an i5. Don't let the NUC 9 moniker confuse you. The NUC 9 is a 9th generation Intel CPU. That means 9th gen i5, 9th gen i7, and 9th gen i9. They all look alike on the outside. It's just the chip that's on the inside of it. I didn't want the i7 or i9 because not only are they more expensive, but they also utilize more power, requiring more heat dissipation, which results in ultimately a louder fan. And since I want to use this for streaming, or at least as a backup streaming computer, I want something small, portable, something I can tuck away if anything happens to my main streamer. I'm out of work. So I need something that's not going to take up a lot of room, that in a moment's notice I can have it up and running with my cameras and microphones and have it just ready to rock and roll where you guys won't even know the difference. I don't need a $4,500 computer to do this. This will get the job done, and it's going to do it for less than, I think I've got, minus the capture card. The capture card costs more than the whole computer twice over. However, there are cheaper capture cards. So I want to talk about that as well during today's broadcast. Now, if anybody, first of all, let me say hello to everybody in the chat room. We say a special shout out to our good friend Buster, Peter Laycock, watching us out there in Bonnie, Scotland. We're thinking of you, Peter. Thank you for your earlier contribution, as always. And thank you to PC Fishing and Dustin Fuller for extending their memberships. Right on. You guys rock. Thank you so much. And Planet Cryos with a $2 Super Chat contribution, as always. Thank you, Planet Cryos, who also has now extended his membership. He's been a member now for 11 months, so that's pretty much right from the beginning. That number 6 badge is soon going to change to a number 12 for many of you. That's awesome. Thank you guys for supporting the channel and supporting projects like this where there are no sponsors. This is all from YouTube revenues that goes back into YouTube to make a video. So thanks to you guys for your super chats and your memberships for making today's video possible. A special shout out also to our friend Jack Wilson, and he has provided one of these units. So I have a total of 5 of them. 2 of them aren't here yet. 2 of them won't arrive till next week. So I've already run through this with 1 unit, and it's super easy. I really need to pace myself, or this video will be over in 20 minutes. So I will try to do my best to take some time and explain things in a little more detail as to the reasoning why those items were selected. Let's see, just looking in the chat. Hello to all my friends in blue, all those familiar names jumping in here, and my friends in green, and everybody with the badge next to their name, my proud supporters of the Tech Club here. And if you are in white, don't let those people in blue intimidate you. They are all friendly, kind, and sincere people, and they had the white color on their name when they first started visiting here, and over time have proven to be kind and supportive, and that's when I turned them blue. So if you keep showing up and you're always kind and supportive. It's just a matter of time before I turn you blue. That's just how that happens. So everybody who you see blue has passed that test, and we'd love to add to our blue community here of like-minded individuals, because there's just not enough of that on the internet, not enough kindness and not enough support. So we try to have that here. And if anybody comes in thinking they want to blow it up, thinking they want to poison the well, they won't last here very long. Stick around long enough and you'll see these people fall flat on their face when they make the attempts. In fact, we've been so effective at it, we very rarely see it anymore. So thank goodness, and thanks to my folks in blue for making sure things stay civil in the chat, not letting it degrade into, you know, some people just like that disruption. And yeah, we're just not going to have it here. Now, Craig Lilly just extended his membership and also been with me for 11 months. He says he's going to be 12. Yeah, almost a teenager again. Yeah, it'll be 12 months this time next month. You'll see that 6 badge change to a 12. That's cool. Who'll be the first one to get the 12, I wonder. Planet Cryos contributes again, this time $10. He says, I love being a part of this and watching it grow. Awesome. Well, wouldn't be the same without you. Thank you so much. And also check out Planet Cryos' YouTube channel. He's got some fantastic build videos on his channel as well. Okay, let me go over to my window capture. I want to show you, let's see, let me go to my OBS here. Window capture is somewhere, there it is. And I'm going to grab Chrome, there it is. And we're going to start by looking at today's parts and why they were selected. And all the links for everything are in the video notes below this video. Okay, here we go. All right, so let's start with the Intel NUC 9 Extreme Kit, the NUC 9i5QNX. And this is what you're getting. You're getting this, I mean, it's big for a NUC, but it's small for a computer, form factor computer. And the reason I need this is so I can plug a 4-port HDMI capture card in the back of it, which you can see here. Has room for a 12-inch graphics card, but I don't need the graphics card. We're going to use built-in graphics. But I do need the ability to install the capture card. I can go through USB if I want to just have one camera at a time, but I can't do picture-in-picture or multi-camera on screen simultaneously without an internal capture card. So in that way, or at least a video controller, which is way more money. And you'll see these are $480 right now. Down in this lower corner on Amazon, I was able to pick them up returned at $350 a piece. So you can see why I snatched them up. It's a really great deal. Now for the capture card, I use this Magewell Pro Capture. Now this is only a 1080 capture card. You can see it has 4 inputs on it. It's not a pass-through. Pass-throughs are usually used when you want to plug a console, a gaming console, into a capture card, and then out of the capture card into your TV. And then the capture card has a USB port to plug into your computer so you can capture the gaming while it's happening. This is a production style capture card, and that's why it's so much money. And they do have them with the SDI connectors, which is even fancier and even more money. But HDMI is what I want and what I use, and you will see there is a fan on it because it does get hot. Now, even these, you know, the first one was provided to me by a viewer, Colin Hilton out in the UK, provided this to the channel. And that changed everything for me as far as my ability to go live and multi-camera. Everything got simpler and just worked way better, way more reliably. And ever since, I've been watching the Amazon page, and I come down here and I look at the used and new ones, or used like new, and I was able to pick these up for about $250 a piece. So I was able to get like 4 of these for the price of little bit more than the price of one new one. And they've all been like brand new. But here's the thing, you don't have to go that super fancy because Elgato has a capture card that's also 4-port, but it's 4K. It'll do 1080 at 60 frames a second or 4K at 30 frames per second. Very similar to the Magewell at a fraction of the price. A fraction! I mean, look at that. However, it does default into 4K mode, which drives me crazy because I struggle to see my screen that I stare at while I'm live. And putting it in 4K by default makes everything super tiny, and I have to adjust it, and I can't see the adjustment sizes because they're on the screen too small. So I have yanked that card because I'm not broadcasting in 4K. My bandwidth is still not supporting that yet, but I have this put away for when I'm ready to try 4K again. But that is way cheaper, way cheaper, and it appears to be just as good of a card, honestly. Now, go over here to our storage. We're going to be using the all ever trusting Samsung 970 EVO Plus 2 terabyte. Remember, these were $299. Every day now, $139.99. It was $129.99 2 weeks ago, and then one time 2 weeks ago, there was a little coupon code for $10 off down here, and I checked that little box and got it for $119.99. Now, you can find these returned as well at a discount, but it's not a big enough discount in my opinion, because this is a consumable device. You just don't know how much data has been written to it and how much life is left in it. It'd be like buying a used battery. I would not buy a used battery unless it was like 80% off, you know what I'm saying? So in this case, I would not buy used. It's just not enough value to be saved there when they're brand new at $139.99. And finally, with the RAM, I cannot believe how cheap RAM has become. This is the T-Force Zeus SO-DIMM laptop style memory. That's 3200 speed. And you get 2 sticks, 32 gigs each for $99.99. Now, what's stupid is I needed some of this, and I ordered it a week and a half ago, and it was $115.99. And I thought, well, I need it, you know. So I bought it, and then 3 days later, it went to $99.99. And Amazon will not price match Amazon because the person selling it at $115.99 was not Amazon. So 10 days later, after I already ordered new memory and had it in the mail 2 days later, 2 days after that, the order from 10 days before arrived, and I sent it right back to Amazon. Free returns. And Amazon will pay for the shipping both ways. I don't know how that's cheaper for them than to just simply price match me. But clearly I was buying from a third-party seller. That's why the price was so high and the shipping was so slow, even though it was free shipping. And since I had to order 6 of these, saving $16 for each one is almost like getting one for free. Hence why I returned it. But I've had really good luck with this brand of memory and this brand of storage of SSD. Team, T-E-A-M, makes the T-Force line. And yeah, it's a great price. I can't believe how cheap RAM and storage has become. And when you combine that with, you know, buying what is essentially a lightly used computer that's essentially 3 years old, it's a returned item from a customer. And it was like $150 off its retail price, $130, $150. That's a heck of a savings, and it's going to be way more than I need to do live broadcasting, which I will demonstrate to you. So let me go back to my main camera here now that I've shown you all that. And again, I want to remind you, all the links for all these products are in the video description below the video. Bob R. contributes $10. He says, another TGIF. This is for support and to say thanks for everything you do. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate you, my friend. Crazy Larry wants to know what kind of computer he can use on the road for doing various location streaming. I would just use your phone if I were you. I would just use a smartphone. That's all you need to live stream from the road. Okay, so let's take a look at what's in the box. Should we get the close-up camera out? Let's put Camera Girl to work. What do you say? And let's see, that's going to be close-up camera. Let me turn that on. Audio's still good today. I was messing around with my audio settings. I've got a new I got some new projects over here that I didn't have time to get done in time for tonight's show, so I had to put everything back the way it was. So if the audio is a little different today, it's because I was messing with it. But I was in the process of switching over to this new equipment, and I just ran out of time. But hopefully next week I'll have that up and running. Let's go to, let's see, close-up camera. There you are. Come on over. All right. Just want to move that chat room down. Audio is just fine, Sarge Text says, as does Buns of Wisdom. Thanks, guys. I appreciate the feedback. It should have been, like I was putting it back the way I thought it was, but I've been mistaken before. Okay, so here's the box. The Intel NUC 9 Extreme comes in. It's got a little magnetic lid on it, which we can open up here. And this is how it arrives. We can take this top piece of material off and then just take this out. Just simply take this out. Okay, there it is. And then inside the box, there is another box, right? Oh no, there's a little envelope with some documentation. And then we have a power cord. Where's the power adapter? You don't need one. This has a power supply already in it. Isn't that convenient? And then on the inside, we have our skull, our Intel NUC trace, copper trace skull is what it looks like. Let me just put all this back because my counter space is way too small for all of this. Okay, now I can tell somebody has opened this up because if you look closely at the pictures at Amazon, the skull is supposed to be towards the front of the unit, not at the back of the unit. See how the skull's in the back? So someone has reversed these panels. This panel should be on this side and this panel should be on that side. And by flipping them, then the skull will be over towards the front where it should be. So again, if you look at the Amazon stock photos, now these may be reversible, but I personally found it very difficult. Me personally, I was struggling to put the side panel on and I couldn't figure out why. And I thought, I wonder if these are on backwards. And I went and I looked at the stock photos and sure enough, they're on backwards. Then I'm watching other YouTube reviewers reviewing these and every single one of them puts these on backwards. I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know why people do that. I can tell you when I flipped them around in the proper orientation, they slid right in. There was no more struggle. So something sharp eye, you can watch for stuff like that. Okay, so on the back, this is really unique if you've never seen what Intel's done with this. This was kind of a one-year product. They don't make this like this anymore. And if we take these two screws out right here, we'll take out that one, and they're captive screws. You don't have to worry about losing them. Okay, that's all I have to do. And then I think this piece, what does it, slide back? Yeah, and then lifts off. And inside, we've got these cooling fans. Now you notice this fan right here has a guard on it. And that guard is to keep it from, if we put a video card in here, we're gonna have the power cables. And those power cables could get caught up in the fan. That's why the whole fan isn't covered. And that's why this fan isn't covered at all. It's just right there where the cables are gonna be, potentially. So they just put a little guard up there. It's very well thought out. You won't see any cables connecting these fans. They use a pad connector here. So the cables from the fans are actually plugged in there. And then this connector will meet up with the connector in here that delivers the power to the fans. Now, as you can see, the side panel just fell out. That's because it was on the wrong side. So even though they're probably designed to be reversible, it seems to me they don't sit as well as they do when you put them in the correct. See, that snapped right in. It was easy peasy. And the skull faces the front. Anyway, watch other YouTube reviewers, and you'll understand when I say the difference between enthusiasts and professionals, because it's details like that enthusiasts don't normally even notice, let alone talk about. How can they talk about something they're not aware of? So it's just stuff like that. And then inside, this is a really interesting design, because inside, where you would think this is a video card, this is your motherboard right here, this piece. And so if we look, we've got our 3 PCI bays with the little screws holding each one in, as you would on any regular desktop computer. But this whole piece is going to slide out, and you'll see that is essentially a socketable motherboard. And then inside, if you look down in there, we've got a PCI Express slot if we want to add a graphics card. And then we have another PCI Express slot, which I'm going to use for the capture card. I'm not even going to put a graphics card in here. We're going to use the onboard graphics because I don't need it for live streaming. And if I put a graphics card in here, it'll consume both these slots. So then there won't be any room for my capture card. You can fit up to a 12-inch graphics card in here. Now let's go ahead and take out the motherboard. Now there's a couple of things you need to know. There are some cables that we have to remove. So let's see, what are we going to remove first? We have here's something interesting as well. There's a right inside, see this cardboard? You leave this in here. Do not remove this. This is going to keep any cables from getting inside of that fan right there. That's your CPU cooler. And then these are your extra power cables for plugging in a video card if you want to do that. But when you do that, as I mentioned, you risk running into this fan, which is why the guard is there. And you risk running into this fan, which is why this is essentially a paper guard. That's all that is. Now, if we want to take the board out, all we have to do is remove this one screw right here. And then we have to disconnect the cables off the motherboard so that they don't tether it to this connector board down here. So if let me see how I want to do this. I will take out that USB cable there. I'm going to try and remember how they came out. We have our 8-pin CPU power connector right up here. I don't know how well you can see that. I'm going to take that one out. And we've got, I don't know what may be the power switch and things. I'm not quite sure what that is. I think that is, I can't tell where that's going. Oh, this does have built-in Wi-Fi, and this antenna wasn't even plugged in. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I could have a problem here. Okay, so if you look, this black wire and this white wire, these are the internal antennas. And usually these little Wi-Fi antennas, they just lift off. There we go. They can be a little fragile. I was saying uh-oh because I thought maybe the little post was broken, but it's over there. Usually these antennas are close together, but on this board, they're separated by about 6 inches there. So that's a little bit different, but not in a good or a bad way. It just is what it is. And then we can take out this one screw here, which is not captive. And for some reason, Intel has decided to go with a non-standard screw size here that if you lose this, good luck finding something equivalent. It's bigger than an M2 screw and it's smaller than a normal PCI slot cover screw. And I called Intel and they say they don't make them and they can't send me an extra because they don't have any. But they did give me the dimensions of it, and I went online and could not find one. So that was the downside of buying a used one. It was missing one of these. But these slot covers do stay in place pretty good without the screw. And I will find a spare. I just need more time to try and source one. Now, I suspect this connector is going to have to come off. So we'll pop that one off there. And then that's got a little rail it's riding inside of that I think we're going to have to remove. And this should pop out just like a video card. Very similar. There we go. Let me just make sure I haven't missed any screws or cables. Missing this one right here. Missing these. So these two right here. So I can remove these either from the board or from the front of the case here where they're connecting to. So let's see. It should be pretty straightforward to keep these, to know how these go back in. So take that one off, and then I'll take that one off. Okay, so now this is our motherboard. How wicked is that? So check this out. If we want to put RAM and storage in this, we simply remove this screw and this screw. And this is all, again, the screws are held captive, so you don't have to worry about dropping them and losing them. And then you should be able to just lift up and take this out like so. And what you'll find are two SSD heat dissipation heat sinks. And inside of here, check this out. We've got our CR2032 battery for the BIOS. We've got two SO-DIMM RAM sockets. And we have our two M.2 slots right in there. So everything is super easy to access. Once we put our RAM and our M.2 in, we pop the top on, we put the whole thing back in, and we're ready to install Windows. I mean, that's a bare bones kit for you. That's exactly what a bare bones kit is all about. And if you want to get some close-up beauty shots of the circuit board and how Intel has put this together, it is a one-of-a-kind, unique NUC. They did not make another NUC like this one. They're all either smaller or larger. So this was a one-year-only type thing. I think it's genius. Some people complained they were not able to get a full-size graphics card in it. So I think it was Cooler Master came out with a longer case, a case that will take all these components, but the case is twice as long. So you can gut this, put it into the Cooler Master case, and then put your full-size graphics card in it. But the whole benefit to me was how short this was. And then take another look with this, with the motherboard out of it. It's a very unique design. And I'm all about that. Look, regular micro ATX and ATX towers are all well and good, but when you've seen tens of thousands of them like I have, any sort of variety is welcome. So let me take a quick look and see what folks are saying in the chat room here. Would you happen to know if this NUC motherboard installed in one of those PCI lanes on a normal motherboard? No, you cannot. You cannot do that, no. Sam F2000 contributes $2. He says, here's something for a cold Coke on me. Hey, thank you, Sam. All right, so before I start populating these, do you have any questions about these parts or about what I'm about to do? Bob wants to know if he bought a new refrigerator, would I take it apart? Don't take apart anything under warranty, my friend. You buy a used refrigerator, we could take that apart. Mats Olaf says hello. Welcome in, Mats Olaf, joining us from Sweden. Okay, so I don't know. What do I want to do first? RAM or storage? Uh-oh. I don't see an M.2 screw. So this could be a problem when you're buying returned equipment, is sometimes people don't return it with everything. Remember I said I was missing one of the PCI Express slot cover screws on the first one I did. this is the second of 3 that I have, and I have 2 more coming. And so I'm 2 for 2 with missing some screws. Now the M.2 screw can be purchased off of Amazon. They have a kit of them. And you would think somebody would have included that. However, not a deal breaker for me. Let me just get into my parts drawer. And let's see here. My labeling system. There's a bunch of different M.2 screw sizes. It's not like all manufacturers agree. So I'm going to eyeball this and take a guess as to which one we need here. And of course, this contains our standoffs as well, that some M.2s. We have the standoff, thank goodness, because that would be a little more difficult to find. And I'm going to guess, based on looking at that, is it this one? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. Yep, that's the one I needed. So I can put a link to where you can buy this little M.2 screw kit from Amazon. They're, I don't know, $6 or $8. They're inexpensive, but they're expensive for what you get. But they're not the kind of screw you can easily find at a hardware store. And for whatever reason, people lose them or they don't return them. It's very, very common. I've even sent a motherboard back to RMA to ASUS with the screws and didn't get it back with the screws, and then I complained, and then they sent me the screws. If I could just hop over to the hardware store and buy the screws, I wouldn't care. But that does make things a little complicated. So let me go ahead and take that back out, because that, I think both slots run at the same speed. I'd have to look it up. But when I put this back over, whoops, forgot that was tethered. So one of these heat sinks is bigger than the other, and I just want to see which one it is. The bigger one is the one furthest away from the heat sink. You know what? That's interesting, because the closer you are to the heat sink, the closer you are to the source of the heat from the CPU. So interestingly, like this other M.2 would require a standoff in order to use it. That's interesting. Now that I'm seeing that, let me see if I've got a spare standoff so that I have the option of adding another M.2 without hunting for the standoff and the screw. Once again, that should have been included, but I don't have a new one to compare it to, so I can't tell you for sure if that was included and simply not returned. But I'll tell you, it sure does look a lot like this. Let's see if that's it. That is not it. See, it's very similar, but the thread just falls into the hole, so that's not going to work. And that's the same one there. Okay, here's this one. This one looks too tall. Let's see. Nope, that one just falls in the hole. Uh-oh. That one just falls in the hole. God, I might have to do another search on Amazon to find what standoffs Intel is using. Yeah, don't buy used equipment lighthearted, because unless you're a technician and like myself and you have a lot of spare parts, this is the kind of stuff you can run into where it's really frustrating because the part's incredibly simple. It's not like rocket science to figure this out. But finding the part, well, that can be a challenge. So we just take that out. We'll take a quick look at it. Here we go. See, it's really stubby, and it's got a wider screw on it. That's unlike any others that I have. The ones I have are very different from that. And obviously this standoff isn't going to work. Yeah, I'm going to have to, yeah, and here's another one that like Asus and Gigabyte will use these kind. So manufacturers all will pick different ways, which is really frustrating for a person like me that has to be prepared for any of that at any time. So I only need one M.2 for now, and I can revisit, researching where I can buy more of those. That shouldn't be a big deal to find, not like the PCIe screw. And I could drill those screws out, by the way. I can retap them with normal screws. I don't know why Intel made that decision when everything else is pretty well plug and play. Nick Caffrey with a 20 euro contribution. He says, thanks for the hard work, Kerry. Hey, thank you, Nick. So without these little surprises, these videos wouldn't be as interesting. Anybody can buy a new unit and put it together, but buying the return units requires sometimes a bit more technical ability and tools to know what to look for and to be able to address it. So here is our Samsung 970 EVO Plus that I've just unboxed, and I'm going to just pop that bad boy right there, and then we can secure that with one of the M.2 screws that I have an abundance of. Don't over tighten that, it's just there to hold that in place. I'm only selected this location to keep it away from the heat, but I will have to get another standoff and another M.2 screw for this part here if I want to put another M.2 in it in the future. Now, as a streamer, I really don't need more than 2 terabytes. But if my needs should change, I would like to have it there just so it doesn't keep me up at night knowing that it's incomplete. Of course, there's no room in here to put a 2.5-inch drive at all. I don't see any SATA connectors. And I don't see any 2.5-inch drive bay opportunities here. So, but that's all kind of, that ship has sailed anyway. Oh wait, what do we have back here? Oh, look at here. Look right back here. Look what I found. Can you see that? There is a screw all the way in the back for like a 110 millimeter length SSD. So it did have one screw and standoff, and they were all the way in the back. So now we know what it came with. It should have had 2 of these, and you'll see that screw is black. It's not a silver one, but that doesn't matter. And then the little standoff, I'm gonna move that to avoid this confusion in the future. That's a 5 millimeter standard size. Wow, you're gonna have to have some tiny fingers to get this out, let me tell you. Holy cow. That is very difficult to get at. Sometimes I'd love to have a meeting with the engineers, just to have a little discussion, hand them the unit, hand them the tool, and say, show me how you get this out. Show me what you were thinking. Make them do the work, and then see if they want to do that again. Make them wear my shoes is what I'm saying. Walk a mile in my shoes, and then tell me if you'd pick more comfortable shoes. Wow, that thing did not want to budge. Thank goodness for magnets. Okay, so I'm going to place this one, and the battery's in my way. Come on now. I hope you're either really got some precision tools, or you have really small hands to do this. Can't believe I just pulled that off. Don't over tighten. You want them to be snug. Then I'm going to put the little M.2 screw back in. Wait a minute. That's not the M.2, is it? No, that's the PCIe screw. Look at the difference. The PCIe screw has a domed top, and the M.2 screw has a flat top. So that's the M.2 screw, and that's the PCIe screw. Okay, I don't want to mix those up. Now, I'll be able to sleep at night knowing that if I ever want to add another M.2, everything's ready to rock and roll. All I got to do is pop it in there. I've already got the screw in the standoff. Phew, okay. Now we have 64 gigs of RAM. Does a streamer need 64 gigs of RAM? No, but it was $10 more than 32 gigs of RAM. I did see some sales where 32 gigs of RAM were 50 bucks, but I thought, let's just future-proof it. We'll throw 64 on it because we can, but I absolutely could be fine with 16 gigs, to be honest. So if money was a concern, this is not a necessary upgrade. I'm just doing it because I can. I'm not suggesting that this necessarily makes sense in, practicality-wise, except, again, the price was so good on it. I was just paying, how much was I paying for 64 gigs of RAM? At least twice this, if not $300. So to me, this is a really good deal. And you'll see I always bend the plastic to get the RAM out. Don't pry on the RAM to get it out of the package. You can damage it. That's the RAM we're going to be using today. And I've got a lot of experience with this RAM. I've been using it a lot. And I got to say, been very impressed with the reliability and compatibility of the products this company Team manufactures. Team Group is the name of the company. And laptop RAM is super easy to put in. All you have to do is align the notch in the RAM with the notch in the socket. And what we do is we push that in. It won't go in unless it's on an angle. You see the angle it's on? Can you tell? And then you simply push it down. And then these little arms will lock into the notches on the side and hold it in place. Now, one RAM module sits elevated above the other one, so you always have to put the bottom one in first or you won't be able to get to it. We do the same thing here. I'm assuming you can see what I'm doing here. We want to make sure that gold edge is completely gone. It actually clicked when it went in, but it's not in yet. Now it is. Just like that. That's it. We have prepped the board. Now we can put this cover back on. And that snaps in and then is secured with these, as I mentioned before, captive screws that you don't have to worry about losing. And don't over tighten. Once again, this is just there to secure this panel in place. And then the whole piece can slide right back down. And at that point, we hook the wires back up and we can begin to install Windows 10. Once Windows 10 is installed, I will install the capture card, and then I have to download the drivers. And then I put the free open source OBS, open broadcast software on it. We're ready to rock and roll with a live streamer. It's that easy, and it's really relatively inexpensive when you consider the live streaming computer over here, as I mentioned, is a $4,500 build. This is going to come out under $1,000. In fact, using the Camlink Pro, let's see, that's 170. The RAM was 100, so that's 270. The storage, 2 terabyte Samsung Evo is 130, so that's 400. And then the computer returned or used was 350, so it's 750 for a 4-camera input, multicam HD. In this case, it could be 4K. Streaming computer that runs quietly. It's small, it's portable, it's out of the way. Super easy, very affordable. I could buy, how many of these? I could buy 6 of these for less than I paid for that. Let your mind process that. 6. Let me show you. 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, 42. Yeah, not only would I buy 6 of them, I'd have $400, $300 or $400 left over. So, yeah, so 6 of those at 4 cameras for each one is 24 camera inputs. I love technology. Everything's getting smaller, faster, cheaper. I love it. And even though this is not a 13th gen, this doesn't have the power consumption of a 13th gen. I don't need the big cooler. I don't need the 12th gen or the 11th gen, or for that matter, the 10th gen. My stream is not going to get any better. The YouTube processing rate isn't going to improve. There's no sense. It makes absolutely no sense to buy a 13th or 12th or 11th or 10th. Heck, even an 8th gen will do it for us. And I say 8th because that's what you need to be Windows 11 compatible. You need 8th gen or after. So you can go one more generation back and even potentially save more money, except Intel didn't make this in an 8th gen. So I'm not aware of a small form factor this small that I can add the capture card into. And that's why we've come to the conclusion of this thing is absolutely brilliant and why I'm so excited about it. Price, size, power, the ability to put that capture card in there is so unique and quiet. Yeah. Let me just look in the chat. Gert Wallen wants to know, what software are you using for streaming? I use OBS, Open Broadcast Software, completely free and open source. You can download that and use it yourself as a streamer. Sarge Tech has provided a screw kit, an M.2 screw kit on Amazon that's $12.95. There's a link there. I'm not sure which one that is, but right now at this point I don't need it, thankfully. But thank you for the link, and for anybody looking for those M.2 screws. They can be really difficult to find, so I would treasure that link if I were you. Let's see. Avery wants me to check Facebook messages. Yeah, let's take a break here and very quickly let's check Facebook. Let's see, in email, a $5 Amazon gift card from Avery. Thank you, Avery. $11.98 in PayPal from Randolph Slavin. He says just a small donation to help the channel. Well, thank you, Randolph. And Bob R. with a $25 Amazon gift card. Thank you so much, Bob. Thanks, guys. Hey, maybe I can buy a 7th one. I'm addicted to these things. Let's see. Yeah, I think that catches me up. Thank you guys for continuing to support the channel. Everardo Arredondo with a $5 super chat contribution. Thank you, Everardo. Thanks, guys. All right. I guess I can get back to work on this. So with the bare bones system, we have prepped this by putting the RAM and the storage in. As I mentioned, when you buy bare bones, that traditionally means, now some manufacturers may define bare bones differently, but more than not, the bare bones systems require RAM, storage, and an operating system. And then they discount the price of the machine since you're taking out some of the most expensive components. I think this is a socketable processor, but I don't care. I'm not going to change it. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's socketable or not. I'm sure there's YouTube videos from 3 years ago where they dismantle these. I think maybe even Gamers Nexus took one of these completely apart. If you're interested in, taking all the hood off and everything and seeing what's really under there. I don't want to get that far into it because I need this as a production machine, and I don't want to put myself in a position where I might break it. So let me see if I can, I don't know if I should hook some of these cables up now or, let's see. Let's get some of these cables out of the way. Let's slide this down here. Now I don't want to lock it in place yet because I might need to move this around. Yikes. Okay. So getting that little lip over the edge was a little bit of a challenge. And of course, we work on it without it being plugged into power, because we definitely don't want these exposed contacts hitting the metal backplate if there is power, even if the power's off. But as long as we have no power cable connected, we can bump up against that. It's not going to cause any harm, as long as we make sure when we're fully seated, we don't have any contact between the back of the board and the back of the tray here, which is true of any computer build, by the way. It's not unique to this. Now, this is going to be a little bit of a challenge because I need to hook up cables and you guys aren't going to be able to see me. So maybe if I step over to the same side of the table, maybe you can get a look at what I'm doing. Maybe, I'm not sure. We'll do this differently today. Okay, let's see. This one, what do we have? This black cable, where did this go? Do you remember? It looks like it went here. It has a pin missing right there on that corner. That one has a pin missing, so I'm going to guess that's where that went. And then there was another little one around here somewhere. Where did it go? Oh, this white one. That should go right there if I recall. I don't want those cables intertwined like that. I think that one went on this way. Or does it go on this way? It does have a little groove that prevents you from plugging it in backwards, in case you were curious. Okay, then we have our, looks like a USB 3.1 cable, our motherboard power connector, and then on the other side, that other cable. So I think we can do those with this back in. Move that paper out of the way, slide this back down. See, I'm kind of running into a little issue there. If we come around the other side, I want to make sure that this, if there's a latch, that latch is open. There is no latch, so we're okay. It does look a lot like a standard graphics card, but no, you cannot plug this into your motherboard. That is not going to work. Okay, so I think that's good, but yes, we should see that when I push down, lock into that socket. And then we've got our antennas here. So the long antenna goes to the far side. This is a little tricky to put on because you've got to go all the way to that little hole back there, find it without damaging anything, and I'm going to pull the motherboard away from that back wall. And you may not hear a click or anything, but you'll know when it's seated because it kind of locks in even though it doesn't make a noise. And then the black wire will go on that side. So those are just our Wi-Fi antennas. So if you were to forget to put them on, you would only notice that your Wi-Fi signal was weak. And that would be why. That's an easy problem to diagnose and fix. Then this cable went over here. Again, it's got a blocked hole right there, and there's a missing pin right there. So we know that this has to go on in this direction. It will not go on if we flip it the other way. It just won't work. So that goes on. Well, first of all, it's got a little track it fit in. Where did that little track go? Oh, it's right here. Yeah. Like this. And then right back on like that. And then finally we have these last two. So let's see, this one went onto that connector right there. It is like any other small form factor. You have a very confined space to work in. Small hands do help. And then finally our 8-pin CPU power connector, which is the same on every motherboard. It's just that you got a very tight space, very confined space to work in. These cables, this would go to an optional graphics card that we don't need. for this build. And then finally, we have that little proprietary, you have no idea how much that upsets me that Intel went with a proprietary screw there. I guess I wouldn't care as much if it wasn't missing on the other unit, but like I said, I could tap it out to use a larger screw. I really just want what was originally supposed to be in there. It is a brand new build, despite being a returned product. It's still a new product. Okay, lock that back in. Now we're ready for our first power on self-test here. If we want to put the side panels on to make it look pretty, just remember the skull goes towards the front, as though I didn't say that enough times already. If you try to put it on the other way, you can make it fit, but it definitely doesn't fit as easily, as trouble-free as that. I'm going to leave this one off so you can see the inner workings. This uses a standard PC power cable. There's no proprietary power adapter involved. We're going to hook up an HDMI cable to use onboard video. I'm going to leave the network unplugged. I'm going to grab my Windows 10 installation media, which is right here, and I've got a video showing you how you can make that legally and for free. Then if we want to activate it, I have links in the video notes on how you can buy a very inexpensive and guaranteed Windows activation key for a fraction of the price of what Microsoft would charge you. And I need a keyboard and a mouse, don't I? So yeah, that's the whole unit. That's the whole build. Like anybody could do that as long as you had the patience to get in those really tight, confined spaces. Keyboard and mouse, Carrie. Keyboard and mouse. There it is. All right. All the links to the products I use, whether it's the flash drive, the keyboard, mouse, all of that is in my video notes. It's called my Amazon store. You can go to amazon.com/shop/Kerry Holzman to see the stores. One is Deals Now, one is Production Equipment Wishlist, and the other is Production Equipment Tools and Equipment that I use on my live stream. And there's over 100 items in the tools and equipment I use on the live stream, from the Lazy Susan to the screwdrivers to the keyboards and mice. All of it's in there, even the HDMI cables I use. So if you're curious about any of that, it's all in the links below the video. If you make a purchase using my Amazon link that takes you to Amazon, I make a small commission, and I can't tell who bought or where it went to, but I can tell what was purchased. So I know how much commission I made, but I don't know who you are, I don't know where you are, and I won't even know that you did it. So it's an anonymous way to support the channel. You're not going to pay any more, you're not going to pay any less. It costs you the same. Nothing changes, only that I would benefit with a very tiny little commission. And if you buy toilet paper on Amazon, if my link takes you to Amazon, anything you buy during that Amazon browser visit from my link, I make a commission from that is commissionable. Just so you know. And again, it's a nice anonymous way to support the channel. And because it's such a small commission, it adds up. Like if a lot of people do it, it can be significant. Let me grab a power cable. Let's get this thing hooked up and let's see if we survive our first power on self-test here. Let's see. I need an HDMI cable, which you are standing on. Thank you. She stepped off of it just to step right back on it again. No, I do the same thing. You just don't hear me criticizing myself. All right, there we go. Here's an HDMI cable, and we're gonna plug that in right there. I need a standard PC power cable. Thank goodness that's not proprietary, because I got tons of those, and that'll plug in right down here. Now there is no on-off switch on the power supply, so once we've given it power, there is power flowing through the board even though we haven't turned it on. So you definitely don't want to work on it with the power cable plugged in for safety reasons. And then before I plug in the flash drive, let's just make sure this thing posts. And assuming it posts, we can then shut it off, plug the flash drive in, turn it on again. Remember, we don't have an operating system on it. So there's nothing for it to boot to. It should just turn on, acknowledge that, you know, it has powered on self-test, POST, and that's what we would expect from it at this point. I'm gonna go back to camera one and give you a break. Thank you for the close-up work.
Battery's almost gone anyway.
What's that?
The battery's almost dead.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right, you're cleared. Thank you. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the HDMI input on the capture card. And you can switch that battery out when you're waiting. And then I'm going to put myself in a corner like this. Here we go. And I'm going to reach over. I know there's a power button. Oh, let me turn this so you can see it. There's a power button right there. And when I hit this power button, I expect to see some fans turning. Here we go. Yeah, I heard it click. There's no RGB on this. There is a light on the front, right around the power button there. And hopefully, and remember this is our first boot, so we want to give it up to 90 seconds. Don't assume it's going to pop right up on the first boot. It has to train the memory and determine the CPU installed, and it just takes a minute, maybe a minute and a half. Alhaj has been a member now for 4 months. He says, Carrie, beware of squirrel sign. I must say it looks epic. Glad you appreciate that. Thank you. There's our post screen, and then we should get an error that there's no bootable device found, or it should take us into the BIOS. Yeah, so we've got a message up there that I can't read. It's too faded. However, I know what to expect here. So let's go ahead and shut this back down. And I'm going to plug in my Windows 10 installation media to any of the USB ports back here. And we're going to fire it back up. Now, that's going to be the only bootable thing this computer has. So there's no reason to go into the BIOS and to instruct it to boot to that. It doesn't have a choice. It either boots to that or it doesn't boot. So if the BIOS is left at default settings, it should boot to whatever bootable device is available within a certain order. But the order won't matter if that's the only thing in the order that's bootable. I do hear a weird high-pitched whine coming from this. That's not normal. However, I'm not too worried about it yet. It's when I get the covers on it, it may be something I don't hear, or if it's put a couple feet away, I may not hear it. It's usually happens from an electrical coil. And as far as I know, you have to replace the entire coil. And if that's the case, I probably will live with it for the price. If it were a brand new unit, I could send it back within 30 days. So again, and likely I could send this one back as well within 30 days. However, I don't think I want to. Like that little high-pitched whine, I think it's either fading away or I'm getting used to it. So it doesn't bother me too much. But, you know, full disclosure, be prepared if you're going to buy something that's returned to send it back. So make sure you're buying from a seller that does take returns. All right, we're going to do our standard Windows 10 install. We could put Windows 11 on this if we want to. However, I am not a fan of Windows 11. I will use it if I have to. I don't have a product key here, but I will provide a key for Windows 10 Pro later. So I'll hit Next and agree to the license agreement. It should see that, oh, I do custom install, always a custom install. It sees the brand new Samsung 2 terabyte drive, which has no partition. And we hit Next, and it's going to partition, format those partitions, and copy over the Windows 10 installation files all by itself. And we're off to the races. That is essentially the build. Then I can either put the CamLink Pro in it or the Magewell. I prefer the Magewell. So that'll go in that slot there. And then the side panel and the top go back on. And we can start streaming with it once I put the OBS software on. It's just that easy. And I don't expect streaming requirements are going to change anytime soon. So as long as I have a supported operating system on here, whether it's Windows 11 or the supposed Windows 12 coming out before Windows 10 expires, which would be ideal, I'm sure OBS will be compatible regardless, as long as we're on a supported operating system. And as long as OBS works, I'm clear to broadcast. It's that easy. So I anticipate a little broadcasting machine like this should last me 8 to 12 years. Let's just round it to 10. I could probably push it to 10 years unless I start broadcasting in 8K. And even then, I think this still has enough power that if I were to have an 8K capture card and an 8K camera, what's going to prevent me is not the hardware. It's going to be my bandwidth. The amount of upload bandwidth you need to broadcast in 4K is 4 times the bandwidth I need in 1080. And so we go to 8K, we're going essentially the bandwidth times 4K times 2 to get us to 8K. It's actually, I think it's more than that now that I think about it. And who knows, and by the time that happens, maybe that bandwidth will be available regularly. But for right now, if I tried to broadcast live at 8K, yeah, I'm pretty sure that would be 4 frames a second. It would be horrible. And the kind of videos that I make don't benefit from 4K or 8K. Like the clarity you're seeing at 1080 it's not going to be any clearer. So, you know, that's, but again, I don't know why you would build a streamer. So I'm just providing that information in case you are intending to do different kinds of videos than what I'm doing. Maybe a nature video if I'm going out into the woods and I want to film the beauty of nature in 8K. But then I would not be doing that live at 8K. That would be something I would come back and edit, process, and upload. And if I'm uploading non-live, it doesn't matter what my upload bandwidth is. I could upload at dial-up speeds. Might take a few days, but once YouTube has it and processes it, then playback will be seamless for all viewers from that point forward. Lagrinia says, I had to get a $50 replacement pressure washer hose. Used one of Carrie's links for Amazon. Every bit helps the channel. Hey, thank you, Luke. That's very thoughtful of you. You didn't have to do that. But the fact that you did means a lot to me. And I appreciate you thinking of me when you're making those purchases. As I mentioned, it won't cost you anymore. And again, the commission on a $50 purchase is probably 2%. So maybe 50 cents. Is it even 50 cents? But nonetheless, it adds up. That's what I'm trying to say. If 1,000 people do that, it's a nice little earnings commission from Amazon in a month, you know? Especially since I didn't have to do anything to earn it other than point you to the link. All right, let's see. I have to go full screen because I cannot see on this side. Here we go. We're in the United States, yes. And we're in the United States keyboard. We have a United States keyboard. No secondary keyboard layout. There's our Wi-Fi working. I'm going to say I don't have internet for now. And then I'm going to set it up with a username of user with a blank password so it won't interrupt me at the startup to ask for a password. Turn everything off but location data. That way my date and time can be set automatically. And I don't want Cortana. And that's how fast it is to install Windows 10 on this $700 computer. It's incredible. And remember, just 3 years ago, if you go on YouTube and you look for reviews of this unit, people were super hyped up about this brand new technology, this brand new design. And now the fickle public that we are have all but forgotten it like some, I don't know, impulse purchase that has long since been abandoned. This is a wonderful piece of technology and a bargain when it comes to what you're getting for your money. If you want to buy the latest and greatest, then great, don't let me stop you. But if you want to save money and effectively have no difference with the computer's capabilities for most ordinary use that most people have need for, why spend 2 to 3 times the amount of money for more power than you actually need? At the end of the day, you're not going to be any faster. You're not going to type any faster. You're not going to think any faster. And your internet speed isn't any faster. And these are typically the things nowadays that slow computers down. So don't be brainwashed by the benchmark chasers. They've got impractical reasoning and unlimited budgets that most people don't have the luxury of having, so they can run benchmarks on their computer. I'd like to know personally what they use the computer for other than running benchmarks. Because to me, benchmarks don't make me any money. Benchmarks are wonderful if you want to test the capability of the machine to make sure that it's operating within a certain range. But if what you're trying to achieve are record scores, you're going to put excessive cooling, Again, I would ask, what are you using the computer for to justify all that time and money? And for some, it's just chasing the benchmark. It's like climbing a mountain. Why did you climb the mountain? Because it was there. Okay, well, I mean, if you've got the time and money to spend on mountain hiking gear and you risk your life to go up to Everest because it's that important to you, certainly a lot of bodies are still on the top of Everest that cannot be recovered. That's a heck of a way to go, man. Now, that's a far extreme from talking about computers, but the fact of the matter is the vast majority of people do not have the money or the need to do what the vast majority of enthusiast channels are doing on YouTube. So as a real working technician, I want to bring to you practical information that can save you money and save you frustration and save you time. This, as a 32-year professional, this is more than I need. Forget that. That's fishing lure. This is the tool I actually need for broadcasting, no differently than when I'm broadcasting on this. This is like driving a school bus, but I'm the only passenger. Why am I driving a school bus if I don't have it filled with people? It doesn't make any sense. Why am I paying for that gas? Why am I having difficulty parking it? It's ridiculous and stupid. But if I work for a school and I'm busing people around, then that purchase makes sense. So because I'm a bus enthusiast doesn't mean you should run out and buy a bus. That's all I'm trying to say. You decide for yourself, but just understand why somebody created the content they made here on YouTube. Most of it is nothing more than enthusiasts. And that's great. I don't mean to say that in a dismissive way. Enthusiasts provide wonderful information to other enthusiasts and those who are enthusiast curious. But when it comes to actually buying it and using it, people are going to buy the thing that's much more affordable if they know they don't need that expensive thing, because the enthusiasts, they feel like they need it. So when they make their videos out of their enthusiasm, it comes across like everybody needs it. And it's just not the way the world goes around. So again, they're wonderful videos to watch for entertainment purposes, even for some educational purposes of ways you can waste your money. I feel bad for the enthusiasts who still overclock today. I just kind of chuckle. The days of overclocking are long behind us, and man, we could really get a lot of performance. We could double, sometimes triple performance with overclocking, especially back in the 1990s and early 2000s. And then things changed, and now overclocking is being done by the chip automatically. If you can push it further than that, you need to spend a lot of money, and you only get 10 to 15% gains. We were getting 50, 75, and even 100% gains when we did it. That made it worthwhile. And we didn't buy liquid coolers because that thing didn't even exist. But that kind of overclocking was miraculous when you could double the amount of power you had, and it didn't cost you anything. But to spend the kind of money you need to spend to get a measly little 15% when you already have more power than most people could ever use, what a waste of time and money. I just feel bad for them. I think they're trying to live in an old era. They're trying to keep it alive, but it doesn't seem to have any purpose. It's so much for so little. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not practical. For the challenge of doing it, to see what you can do, if you've got the time and the money, have at it. But for the rest of the viewers watching, it doesn't apply to you. Unless you want it to. That's your choice. Let me get the internet plugged in and we can start updates on this. If I can find my internet cable, and it's on the floor here somewhere. Here we go. This does have 2 Ethernet ports. I don't know if you noticed that. Now, I have never personally had any need for 2, but it doesn't bother me that it's there. It's not hurting anything for that to be there. Okay, so let me go over to full screen again. Once again, I cannot see my screen. It's so small when I'm looking at the chat room. And we're going to head over to Windows Update. So there will be a bunch of updates waiting for us, and then I'm going to get rid of this icon down here, and I'm going to get rid of that icon down there, and I want to turn these notification settings off because they're going to drive me up a wall. So we'll go over here to manage notifications. You can't see that it's behind the camera, but then I'm going to just turn notifications off. And then we'll go back to our Windows Update page. And yeah, we have a ton of updates, including Intel driver updates as well, which I will grab all of these, get them all in one fell swoop here. I've seen people go, well, this one is the same as that one. If we do the research, we know we don't need this one. Just check them all. If you don't need them, it'll process that faster than it'll take you to look it up. There's no danger or harm in selecting all of them. And get on with your life. You got other things to do, man. Again, if you're curious and you want to learn, have fun. But if you just want to get things done so you can get back to work and actually use your computer for the reason you bought it, other than, I don't know, looking up drivers and looking up benchmarks, actually using it is what it should be about. It seems like that's been forgotten somehow. I can look at all these YouTube channels and it's like, okay, but now that you've done all that, what do you use it for? Oh, I check email and browse the web. Really, with an overclocked custom liquid cooled all-in-one $7,000 computer, you do with it what I do with my phone. Okay, whatever. All right. So while we're waiting for updates, if you have any comments or questions regarding the NUC or PC builds, happy to do my best to provide an answer or point you in a direction to an answer. And also pay attention to other comments coming from our community, because we have a lot of people in the community with different experience from mine, in many cases superior than my information, because they might have more experience in a particular topic than I do. That's not uncommon. So even if I answer your question, do look at the chat room for others who may be providing what they believe is an alternative answer for you to consider. Bill says, Carrie, play PC games. I'm an average user. I just want what works. I don't care. Frames per second doesn't matter. The most important thing is my games work. Yeah, so that's the other thing. Frames per second, you shouldn't have to look at frames per second, CPU utilization, GPU utilization. You should play the game. And if the game isn't playable, then you should adjust the settings of the game until the game is playable. What defines a playable game is up to you. But staring at all those numbers doesn't make any sense unless you're willing to spend more money. Because if your game isn't playing well and you refuse to change your settings, then you're going to have to open your wallet. And looking at those numbers can give you an idea of how much you're going to have to spend and how much time you're going to have to invest. So if you need a 4070 Ti graphics card, I want to be your friend, because you have way more money than I do for such nonsense. But if that's important to you, then so be it. But please know you do not represent the majority of computer owners, but you would not know that looking at the content here on YouTube, because the content is made by the minority and it's made primarily for the minority. I'm trying to make content for the majority because I feel like there's not enough representing the average user. And I'm here to explain that so those who don't get it can possibly, have that switch click on and go, oh, that's why he's doing that. Yes, yes. And then you could say, oh, well, then this channel isn't for me. Quite possibly. But I do believe it is for the vast majority of computer owners, based on my experience in the industry and the conversations I have with people every day and the kind of problems they have as well. They don't represent what I'm seeing in bulk on YouTube. So for that reason, that's what motivates me to make these videos, in case you were wondering why I do it. Jim says you can stream with a Ryzen 2200G. It doesn't take a lot, but it does take a lot gaming and streaming at the same time. Yes, that's true. If I wanted to game and stream, what would be the ideal situation, in my opinion, is to have a gaming computer, run the video out of it into a streaming computer. Whether that gaming computer is a PS5 or an Xbox, that's just fine. If you want to game on the computer, gaming, especially if you're going to play at high settings, is going to take a lot of your resources. It's not going to leave a lot for video streaming. So if you wanted to do both, you would absolutely have to open your wallet. These solutions are all wallet-based solutions. but none of them are absolutely required unless you decide it is. But it's not about, for the vast majority of people, if you make that investment so you can stream your gaming, you likely will never make that money back. Very few streamers, particularly on Twitch, that stream their games, make more than $20 a month. So it would take you a very, very long time to earn that investment back if that's your logic. If your logic is, this is fun and I don't mind spending money on the entertainment, I can blow this at Disneyland, that's true. If you have the money to blow, I just don't know that many people who really do. Because looking at the YouTube content, you think everybody was doing this. But they're not. So, but yeah, what Jim says there is true. Patrick Rusaw said, spending $10,000 and 10,000 hours to make your computer go in half an eye blink faster is mind-blowing. I don't think they'll spend that much time or money, but whether it's $10,000 or even if it's $100 in 1 hour, just for a blink of an eye faster doesn't make any sense to me either. War in the chat wants to know, is the Intel firmware listed in Windows Update a new BIOS? I don't know. We'll find out. We can also download, and I highly recommend on an Intel NUC, you download the Intel Driver and Support Assistant, which is a free download that'll sit in the system tray, and it absolutely will grab new BIOSes for you. You don't have to go hunting for it. Andy Kane said, how's you, Carrie? It's fine, Andy. How's you? What do the popular streamers make? You'd have to ask them. There aren't, so on the Twitch platform, the number of streamers there are compared to the number of popular streamers should be the first thing you look up. Because if there's 100,000 streamers, only about less than 1,000 will be popular. That means that 99,000 of them are unknown and making less than $20 a month. So it's like asking, how much does an NFL football player make? Well, how many people make it to the NFL? If you're playing football in high school, you're playing football in college, or basketball, or any of the major league sports, with the hope that you'll be drafted onto a team, you'll hear of the millions of dollars they can make. But the ones who are drafted are a small fraction of the ones who will play every year. So imagine how many completely shattered dreams there are every year when somebody is passed over during draft. And every year that passes, they're a year older and probably, up to a certain point, not as athletic. Certainly once you hit your late 20s, if it hasn't happened, it's probably never going to happen. So we'll hope you have a backup plan. People dream of the NBA and they dream of the NFL. And so many good players are out there, but they can't pick them all. And the result is a lot of broken dreams. Something they've worked for their whole life, and it's somebody else's decision, And so with Twitch or with the YouTube platform, if you're doing it to earn money, there's a very dark side to becoming popular, and that is the amount of harassment you will receive from people for no reason. You could be the nicest person in the world. They will come and attack you and your family and anybody you know, because people on 4chan and 8chan just find that to be humorous. You'll see threads that say, let's go harass a small YouTuber. Why? Because they're losers and they think that's entertaining, to ruin somebody or to harass somebody or to scare somebody. And if you look on YouTube for harassment from popular YouTubers, there's popular YouTubers that have had to move, that have had to go into hiding, and that have had the police involved. Popular podcasters were just murdered in their home by one of their listeners. I think that was in Washington State 3 weeks ago. That's what happens when you get popular. You need to start getting protective. And when you become well known by the public, you're scrutinized, you're put under a giant magnifying glass. So anything you misspeak or anything that gets misinterpreted could end your career, could demonize you over 5 minutes. Your whole life changes. It's not to be taken lightly if you want to take it seriously. It's best, in my opinion, you stay a small streamer and you have a small core audience that are like friends, and don't strive to become popular, because it'll come with a price I don't think you understand until it happens, and it's almost impossible to reverse it. Once you're popular, you're popular. There was a guy here on YouTube called FPS Russia, some of the best videos, gun enthusiast videos. He just vanished, he's just gone. And I think that's what you have to do if you need to escape it. You just can't do it at all, and you've got to find another life. It's a very difficult thing to undo. So do be careful what you wish for, be prepared for it. But like I said, the likelihood of you getting there to begin with, the odds are against you. You have to pass up 99,000 other people. You could do it, but be prepared for the consequences. Chris Garrett with a $5 super chat says, Kerry, did you watch Doug Betch's stream last Saturday? One of the regulars there had an issue with their computer booting. So I catch Doug Betts as often as I can. I can't remember if I saw Saturdays or not. Why do you ask? Kissick in the chat says the latest BIOS on this machine is 0071, released on the 30th of December, 2022. I don't know what BIOS version we have. Are we still installing? What is it doing? I gotta go full screen. What's it doing? Restart. Oh, we're downloading the display driver right now. Right there's the display driver. And then, oh, we're downloading the cumulative update. So that's gonna be a couple minutes. We'll let those install. I don't wanna restart it even though I could. I want it to finish what it's doing first. David Starbucks said FPS Russia went to prison for drug charges? Oh, that's new. I haven't heard that. I know the producer got shot and killed, and that was sort of the beginning of the end. But again, probably due to the, I don't know for sure, but probably due to the popularity. Chris Garrett said the computer was turned off with the power button while no monitor was connected. We think it may have needed a reboot for Windows Update. Everything Doug tried to fix the boot did not work. I'll have to go back and watch it. That doesn't sound familiar to me. I don't recall seeing that one. I'm sure just booting into, if it's Windows 10 or Windows 11, booting into a media installation, you should be able to, instead of do custom, do upgrade, and it should repair it. It should be no big deal. Bill in the chat wants to know, Carrie and group, when I buy my next computer, what should I be looking for? I don't build a computer. I don't have any interest. I want to buy a ready-built gaming computer. Any pointers? Well, Bill, gaming computer companies go in and out of business constantly. And when you said you're buying it in 24 days, 24 hours, 24 years, 24 months, you need to ask that question when you're getting ready to buy so that we can give you relevant information and not... Imagine you ask that question today. I'm getting ready to buy a computer tomorrow. Can you give me advice from 2 years ago? And what I should know, that would be very unwise for me to do that. I'm looking to put gas in my car next month. Can you tell me how much money it's going to cost to fill the tank? I don't know what the price of gas is going to be next month. So, oh, he means 2024. So I would ask in 2024 when you're getting ready to buy so that the information you have is pertinent and not outdated. Joshua says FPS Russia makes videos on Painkiller already. I don't even know what that is. How does he make videos if he's in jail? Wayne wants to know if you'll be broadcasting your live videos on Rumble in the future. I think Rumble automatically grabs all my content. I'll have to log back in and see. But as far as I know, Rumble will grab the video after it's live and post it there. If you want to watch my channel on Odyssey, Odyssee, or on Rumble as an alternative to YouTube, you certainly can do that. Okay, so I'm going to go full screen here. See how we're doing on our updates. It looks like the display driver installed. That's when you saw the screen go black. That was the display driver updating. Now this, I've seen this cumulative update take a while to start installing after it downloads. And I'm feeling a little impatient. So I'm going to hit restart now, and then we'll let it finish doing whatever is going on in the background. And then if it starts into a BIOS update, we'll see it. If it doesn't, well, then obviously that was some other kind of an update. And that's referring to the comment, or the question in the comments there about, was this getting a firmware update? I don't know until it reboots. It'll be pretty obvious if it does. I just rely primarily on the Intel Driver Assistant for the latest drivers in the latest BIOS, on Intel products especially. It's a really cool logo though. I like it. Yeah, so we did not do a BIOS update because that would have happened. And then I want to get rid of, let's get rid of the, where is it? Tool, news and interests. I'm going to turn that off. I don't need to see the weather down there. And then this little colorful icon down here, that's search highlights. Right click, search. Show search highlights off. There we go. It's little modifications I make that drive me crazy. Skip that. Go down here, update, and let's check for updates again. Oh, it's already running. Good, good, good. And then I clear these out because they drive me crazy. Unpin it, unpin it. And if you want to, like if you see anything in here you don't want, you can right click and just choose uninstall. You don't have to go to the control panel. You can take it out this way. Just so you know, those are just little shortcuts. So they're not really bloatware because there's no bloat there. It's just mostly just a link. It's annoyingware. I'll give you that. It's adware, but it's not bloatware. People are really screwing up this terminology. It's so depressing. I remember when a hacker was a good guy. The media's ruined that term forever. I guess we're doing that with bloatware now. Anything you don't want is bloatware. Doesn't matter if it's actually bloated. Kids today. Joshua says FPS Russia streams under the name Painkiller already on Twitch. What's he streaming? Is he just gaming? Larry G popping into the chat says hello. Welcome in, Larry. John Williams said on Doug's live stream, the NVMe drive somehow became corrupted. They had to reinstall Windows 11 that it came with, but the NVMe could not be seen. It was returned. Oh, yeah. What brand was it? Do you know? Was it a no-name cheap brand? That's more likely going to happen on no-name cheap brands. However, Samsung did have some issues with like the 980 that a firmware update fixes. And if they didn't have the latest firmware update, then you could be susceptible to that on the Samsung 980s. Chris Garrett said it was a cheap brand. So some people chase after the cheapest price, but if you're not considering the brand, then you're basically saying, I don't want or need support. So when I bought that Earring computer from AliExpress, it's a toy. I'm not going to sell that to a customer and then have to support it. It's purchased without any concern of reliability, and without any concern of returning it or support. It's a one-way purchase. Super cheap, you get what you get. If it's broken, too bad. It's a gamble. If you want to gamble and you can afford the cost of losing, as most gamblers do, You know, Vegas wasn't built on people winning. That's, you know, just understand that. So if you want to buy a very inexpensive solid state drive made from some company you've never heard of, don't expect any support and make sure you back up constantly. Expect the worst and hope for the best. Wintermute said it was one of the mini PCs that came with the cheap M.2. Well, likely it was a cheap mini PC. Do you know the name of the mini PC, the make and model, and approximately how old was the mini PC before that failure occurred? I'd be very curious to know what the make and model was of the mini PC itself. Gert Willen wants to know, is AliExpress safe? No, it's not safe. If by safe you mean, are you going to get the product you purchased? You're going to get something. So in that sense, it's safe. But are you going to get a legitimate product or are you going to get a fake product? If you need that kind of reassurance and peace of mind, do not buy from wish.com. Do not buy from aliexpress.com. It's the best advice I can give you. Stay far away. Buy from a reputable seller. Newegg, Amazon, Best Buy. Buy from a reputable seller that you know and trust will take returns if anything is not what it appears to be. AliExpress is a gambling site for shopping. You might get something good, you might not. Either way, you're stuck with it. AliExpress claims they have a guarantee, but good luck getting them to actually refund your money. Somebody's dog just went into the garage. Would you mind checking the mail for me? I should have some parts from eBay that arrived. All right, how are we doing here? Let me go full screen again so I can see what the status of this is. Oh, it's installing at 81%. Okay, good. Going right, moving right along. Turk says even Amazon is encroaching on a gray area as of recently. So Amazon has third-party sellers. That's likely what you're seeing. When it's being sold directly from Amazon, in most cases, that's all legit stuff. It's kind of hard to tell. Amazon has not made it easy to tell when you're buying from a third party. But as long as it's supported by Amazon Prime with 30-day returns, it doesn't matter to me if the product is fake, as long as I can return it hassle-free and get my money back. That's all I care about, right? Then it's not a gamble anymore. If you're telling me I can put my money in a slot machine, and if the slot machine does not give me my money back or better, then I can get my money back, that's not really gambling, is it? So as far as Amazon goes, it doesn't bother me. As long as you have that 30-day hassle-free return policy for a full refund with no cost to you to return it, then there's no risk. But you don't get that at AliExpress, and you don't get that at wish.com. And you don't often get it from Newegg either. A lot of times you have to pay for the return, to pay for the shipping. So for me personally, I do most of my shopping on Amazon for that reason. Bob wants to know if the NUC is upgradable to Windows 11. Yes, I could put Windows 11 on it right now. I mentioned that just before I put the Windows 10 flash drive in. I don't know if you missed that earlier, but I explained I don't want Windows 11. I also explained why I bought the 9th generation. I could have bought an 8th. I don't know if you arrived at the show late, Bob. I've already covered this. But yes, as long as you're 8th generation or newer, the answer is yes, regardless of what the computer is. I think, is that finished? It has. Good. Now that says Intel Corporation firmware we can't install because other updates are in process. Okay, well let's see. That still might happen on the next reboot. We'll keep an eye on it and see. Yates Network says he moved from Newegg to B&H Photo. B&H takes too long. It takes over a week for them to ship me anything. They have great customer service. They're not open on the Jewish Sabbath, which is what, Friday night to Saturday night? They shut the entire business down. I think that's ridiculous, a business of that size completely shutting down and not taking online orders one day of the week. You know, hire non-Jewish employees to operate your, but they absolutely refuse. So that is very discouraging that I can't place an order. In the meantime, though, they do have some good prices. And when I'm buying camera equipment, I do consider B&H Photo. But when I'm buying computer equipment, very rarely will I order from B&H. It's too inconvenient, and they're on the other side of the country, and it takes too long for stuff to get here. But when I have had issues with customer service, like one of the microphones, one of these $600 microphones I bought was bad. It had a hum in it. They took it back, no problem, sent me another one. But it was, you know, I was without that microphone. I waited for 2 months to receive it because it was on back order. And I ordered 2 of them. One worked great and the other one had a hum. So I sent the other one back. It took 4 or 5 days for them to get it. Then it took them another 4 or 5 days to return a new one to me. So all in all, you know, this entire process from beginning to end took months. Now, it's not their fault it was out of stock. And they did tell me at the time of ordering that they weren't expecting it till mid-October, and this was like I was ordering in August. And I said, that's fine. You know, I'll use the microphone I have. But then once they finally arrived, and that's the other thing, B&H often requires a signature on their packages. So now that means I can't leave. FedEx is going to be by the house between 12 o'clock and 4 o'clock, so I guess I'm stuck here. And then FedEx ends up saying, oh, well, we're running late. We don't know when it's going to be there. I wouldn't care if it didn't require the signature. I live in Studio B is in a very safe neighborhood. You can leave boxes all day. Nobody's going to touch them. It's kind of out of the way. But they don't know that, and they don't want to deal with a customer saying they didn't get a product that's expensive that they know shows was delivered, but they don't know who it was delivered to. So as a shipper, I use signature for the same reason, because I don't know where people live. If somebody lives out in the sticks, it's likely going to be fine without a signature. But if someone lives in a populated urban area, you definitely need that signature on an expensive item, because that's where the mass amount of porch pirates exist. But I never order items from Amazon that require a signature unless it's coming from a third party. Like these NUCs, these require a signature, and they're coming all the way out from New Hampshire. It takes 11 days for them to get the package to me. And, you know, thankfully I don't need them in a hurry. But because they're so cheap at $3.50 each, that makes it okay. I'm like, okay, to save $180 or whatever it is on each unit, that inconvenience is worth it to me. But it's absolutely ridiculous that they require that. But I understand why. You have buyers who are fraudsters and you have sellers who are fraudsters. And the sellers are trying to protect themselves against scam buyers, and the buyers are trying to protect themselves against scam sellers. So, you know, welcome to 2024. Nobody trusts anybody anymore. And so we have to put things like escrow into effect on PayPal and other online purchase sites, because we just don't know if either party is a scammer. The good news is most of the time, everybody, you know, it all works out and people are generally honest. But, you know, thank goodness for the feedback system, and you can be warned of bad sellers before you buy from them, or bad buyers for that matter. Not all customers are good customers. All right, let's download the Intel Driver Assistant and see if there's a BIOS update. So I'll just type in Intel Driver Assistant, Intel Driver and Support Assistant. That's the link. Download now. I also always pay attention to what website I'm being brought to, so I'm not being brought to a fake scammer pretending to be Intel Driver Support. You can't trust Google or Bing to give you accurate results. They can be manipulated very easily by scammers. Oh, it was up here the whole time. All right, that's behind the video. You can't see it. I'm going to click to open that file. Here we go. I'm going to agree to the license terms. Let me close this because it's messy. All right, hit install. I don't want to participate in that. Click yes. Sometimes this requires a restart after we install it, and that's fine. It only takes us a few seconds to do a reboot on this bad boy. And if we look down here, we will see after this installs a little wrench with a little red dot or a green dot. The green dot means you're all up to date. The red dot means you're missing updates. And that's how it tells you. You don't have to go looking. You don't have to remember to, oh, I better check once a month. You just pay attention to your system tray icon. Even if you have an AMD system that has Intel networking or other Intel components, the Intel Driver Assistant will alert you to those Intel drivers when updated. For the most part, you can rely on Windows Update for that. But sometimes the Intel Driver Assistant has newer drivers. If it's fighting with like a video driver where Windows Update wants to give you a video driver, then Intel Update wants to give you the video driver, and then Windows Update wants to give you the same video driver, then just uninstall the Intel Driver Update. Because at the end of the day, you're basically getting the same driver anyway. But in this case, it could be helpful for us to get the BIOSes. So in just a minute, we should see that icon appear. There it is. It's got a red dot right there. I can drag that down here, right? Yes. Check for new drivers. I don't know who showed me that. I can't remember, but thank you for showing me that little trick. It's very useful. Let's see, we've got an Intel management driver, okay. Arc graphics, I don't care about. We're not getting a BIOS update. We can see we've got the Intel i5 9300H using Intel's built-in graphics 630, Realtek high definition audio, AX200 Wi-Fi. Oh, it's good Wi-Fi. We've got our 2 Ethernet gigabit connections. Plus Bluetooth. Oh, there's a Thunderbolt controller. I didn't even realize that. Even better. Generic storage. Where's our BIOS? BIOS version should be right here. 0071. So we already have the latest BIOS as of November 30th. They said December 30th, but this shows November 30th. So we have the latest BIOS. But I do want these drivers. Well, driver. So we'll go ahead and pop that in. It's free. And it's coming right from the manufacturer, so we know there's not going to be any incompatibility issues or blue screening, which you often get from third-party driver installers. You should absolutely avoid third-party driver installers. This is not Windows XP. It is no longer needed. These companies have a lot of money invested in their software, so they want to convince you that you still need it, even though you don't. Products like CCleaner, any system utilities, they're completely obsolete now. If you want to use them, have at it, but they won't do anything to benefit your performance, and they could cause your system to crash. So I don't see why you'd ever want to run those ever again. Everything Windows needs to keep itself maintained is built into Windows. You know, Microsoft has a history of doing that. If there's a utility that people are using, like partitioning the drive, Microsoft builds that into the OS. So now the partitioning can be done in the OS without a third party. If you still want to download a third-party utility to do what Microsoft already has built in, I think you're lacking behind. You're kind of holding on to some old ways that you don't need to be holding on to anymore. But it's your computer, do as you wish. But life gets a lot easier when you can remove the clutter of unnecessary utility software. And your computer will be much easier to navigate without all the clutter. Even a clutter cleaner adds clutter by adding the cleaner. So if you want to free your computer of clutter, keep off the clutter cleaners because they're clutter. People are crazy. I want to monitor my resources to see how much I'm consuming. Okay, but the resource monitor consumes resources to run the resource monitor. So you have more resources than what the resource monitor is showing you, but it can't show you the resources that the resource monitor is using to show you the resources. So don't run it if you want the most amount of resources available, because that's stupid. What are you going to do? Keeps me in business. All right, let's see. Full screen. Install. Yes. And I'll hit next. Agree to the license agreement. Now, because this is a Samsung drive, I'll plug in the Samsung Magician software and the Samsung NVMe driver, just because that's provided by Samsung free of charge, and it's a benefit you do not get from any other solid-state drive manufacturer. Installation successful, and our dot down here is now green. So we're up to date. Let's see, I've got my utilities flash drive here that's got the Samsung software. Let's take care of that now while I'm thinking about it. Once I can figure out which direction the flash drive plugs in. There it goes. And let's see here, we want to open the file, open the folder rather. Let's put VLC on here. I use that as my media playback tool for audio and video files. I do not like Microsoft Groove Music or their movie and TV player. I think it's junk and I uninstall it. Here's the Samsung Magician and NVMe driver. Let me just drag those out and I'll install those locally. And then we'll also put Uncle Carrie's Windows 10 optimizer on there, of course. And that should finish up the configuration. I will take a quick look at the device manager just to see if we're missing any devices. So once we close that out, I'll right click on the start menu and go to device manager and see if we have any issues. No, everything looks happy. Perfect. Because this is a returned computer, for all I know, it could already have had Windows activated on it. If it did, then it'll stay activated. Let's just take a look. I don't expect it to be on there, but let's see if Windows is activated. Windows is activated with a digital license. Okay, so I talked about some of the downsides of buying a returned computer, but somebody put Windows on this. It could have been Windows 7 Pro, 8 Pro, 10 Pro, or 11 Pro. If you put any of those four on without the product key, because it was activated before, Microsoft activation servers recognize the serial numbers of the hardware and say, oh, this was already activated before. They reassign the product key and automatically reactivate you. So some customer who returned this did not deactivate their key. I got a free Windows 10 Pro key. That's worth, you know, probably more than the missing screws. So, yay. Don't I sound excited? Planet Cryos contributes $2. He says, I got to go and eat tacos. See you all again. All right. Enjoy your tacos, Planet Cryos. If I'm not there, start without me. Not a fan. I don't even like Choco tacos. They don't make those anymore. Don't care. Don't miss them. Never bought them. Never will. Okay. Let me go back to let's do the NVMe driver real quick. It's a real fast install. Next. Agree. Next. Install. This will require a reboot. So we'll go ahead and replace the NVMe driver by restarting the system. That's where you can't replace a flat tire on a car in motion. All right. So we're going to pull the car over so we can lift up the side of it that needs the tire replaced. That's effectively what we have to do, because the NVMe driver that we were using, we can't replace it without an NVMe driver unless we're in a reboot process where the NVMe driver is not yet activated. That's why the reboot is required. It's not just because they want to get on your nerves. That's just an added bonus. Now here is the Samsung Magician software. We'll put that on and we can verify that we have the latest firmware on our solid state drive. This is also important because many of the no-name brand manufacturers never come out with a firmware update. And even if they did, good luck finding it or figuring out how to apply it. Like even the big names, Western Digital, my Fire CUDA 530 had a firmware update I didn't know about. I just happened to look to see if there was one available, and there was, but I had to hunt it down and find it. And then applying it, I had to download a special C-Tools utility. It's a massive undertaking, and I would have never known. And these firmware updates are not coming out for the heck of it. They pay good money to developers and to the website. What's the name of the website designer? The person who has to implement all the information and provide the files and all the links on the website. These people aren't working for free. These updates are important, but Western Digital won't tell you. You have to purposely go and look. Samsung, on the other hand, as long as you have the Magician software installed, it'll alert you if there's a new update to the Magician software, or if there's a firmware update to your Samsung drive that is compatible with the Magician software. Not all Samsung drives are. The Samsung 970 EVO Plus is, and if we look down here where it says update, if there was an update, there'd be a big capital letter N like new right there. But we can see everything is current, up to date, and it's happy. And then finally, I'll run Uncle Carrie's Windows 10 Optimizer. This is sold for just a few bucks. It's a tool I developed with the folks over at D7X Tech. And they're the ones who sell it. Any customer service or questions regarding any issues of the purchase goes directly to them. I don't deal with any of the sale. And I expect to be working with them in the near future for other useful utilities I use in my business. Nothing that this tool I just run does is anything you couldn't do by hand. It just does it in milliseconds or in seconds, where it would take you 10, 20, 30 minutes to do all those settings changes. And then if you forget if you set it or you didn't set it, how do you know? Go back and repeat it again. So for me, working on hundreds or thousands of computers, I want them all configured exactly the same way. And I don't have to worry about forgetting any of the steps. And I don't have to worry about taking the time and the repetitious steps over and over and over again. Just run my utility, I'm in and I'm out. The utility itself may not make that big of a difference in performance. It depends on the machine. All the little tweaks each make a little difference in a best case scenario. All added together, those little things, just like my Amazon commissions, they can add up to go, wow, I do notice things are snappier and more responsive. But even if it doesn't, it won't cause any harm. It won't slow anything down. It won't cause any crashes. So it's completely safe to run. All right, so that's everything. I can put OBS on here, so I'll just go to OBS. Be careful that you're getting the real OBS software. There are fraudulent imposters. So we want to make sure we're getting to obsproject.com. And in fact, we can just hit the download button here. They have it available for Linux, for Mac, and for Windows. Obviously, I want Windows. Version 2902 was released February 4th. It's the latest version. And then the download is behind my video. It's showing the progress of the download. It's only 117 megs, and that's all you need for broadcasting, along with a capture card and a camera. And in my case, my capture card will be internal. You can do USB if you just have one camera source. And your camera can be a DSLR or a camcorder, anything you can get an HDMI signal out of. Once this downloads, I'll install it real quick. I'll show you how fast and easy this is. I'm just waiting for it. There it is, just finished. And I'll click yes. I can close out all these windows. Next, next, install. I mean, you don't have to do anything as far as, making any decisions. You just click next through it, let it choose all the defaults. The minute you start customizing defaults is when you start running into trouble when you're trying to customize something and following an online tutorial and your system doesn't match what their system is doing because you changed it. So leave it all at defaults. Now this is the OBS open broadcast software. It's completely free. It's what I use. There is a version of this called Streamlabs OBS or SLOBS that is also available, and you can go through this whole process to optimize it. Mine's already been pre-configured, so I'm going to just cancel that, and I'm going to close this. And essentially, I can now export all of my settings that I have in my OBS right into this OBS, so I don't have to reconfigure anything, copy all my intros and outros to my videos directory, and I got to plug the capture card in. When I plug the capture card in, it's going to need drivers, and I'll have to put the drivers in. That's it. I've got a broadcast unit that is in every way as useful and as powerful as far as the viewer is concerned as my 4,500. I forget how much money that was, a $4,500 machine. And it will make zero difference in my broadcast quality or number of multiple camera sources than this little $700 build we did today. or 750, whatever it came out to. How cool is that? I'm done with my utilities flash drive, so I'll stick that over there. Yeah, let's throw the capture card in it. Why not? Let me shut it down. Oh, gotta use the right mouse. It's so tiny, I can't see the mouse. Full screen for me. I'm so jealous you viewers can watch full screen. I can't watch full screen and see the chat room. All right, let me shut this down. Watch how fast it shuts down. Boom, it's off. Actually, the power light is still on. There, it just clicked. It just went off. But the desktop was gone like that. All right, let me go full screen back on camera 1 for you guys at home. Now you can see me full screen. Ryan in Canada contributes $1.10 Canadian. Thanks, Ryan. Did I miss anybody else? I have not been paying attention. My bad. Mats Olof contributed 100 Swedish krona. He says, interesting as usual. Mats Olof, thank you for your continued kindness and generosity. We appreciate it very much. I think I got everybody else. If I missed you, please let me know. I don't intentionally leave anybody out. From a shout out of saying thank you. I consider the contributions as tips. They're never expected, but they're always appreciated. And the least I can do is acknowledge it. So if I fail to do that, don't be shy. Let me know. You deserve the acknowledgement. Now, again, you do not want to work on this with power plugged into it, because even though it's off, there's still power flowing through it. We're ready on close-up camera. All right, we're going to switch over to the close-up camera, which is right here. There you go. Come on over. Now, as I mentioned, I can put in the far less expensive and in many ways superior Elgato Camlink, but the 4K gets on my nerves and I don't have the upload bandwidth to support 4K. I found these Magewell cards available as returned product, same as this NUC. And I have ordered these brand new, and this is exactly how they ship brand new. There is nothing in here but a circuit board in a static bag, or at least that's what's supposed to be in here. There's no instructions, there's no receipt, there's not a note that says thank you, there's not a business card. This is literally what you get. Oh, there is a piece of paper now. That's your instructions right there. And this is what you get for $900. So this video stuff, professional video equipment, is very marked up. You know that didn't cost them 900 bucks. That's a significant profit margin when they can sell this for 170. And that's only 1080 and that's 4K. So what do you think the profit margin on this is? But if you want to play with the big boys and you want to play with those big toys, well, you better have a big bank account. I've been very happy with the Magewell. And since I'm accustomed to it and I can move my OBS profile by keeping the capture card the same, I'm motivated to stick with it for all those reasons and more. Now, how do I get that screw out? I need my glasses. I can't see so well. Darn it. Whatever happened to the jerky boys? I'm going to take out the slot cover here that's nearest to the edge because I want to use this little by-4 slot right here. I could put it in this slot, but I don't want to be up against that fan. Even though, you see that little connector? If you ever see this, you can plug that into a bigger slot. That will absolutely work just fine. A lot of people don't know that. It's kind of a waste of a 16 slot, but we can do the 4 slot here because it keeps it away from the heat. And if there was a video card I wanted to put in here that was only 1 slot wide, I still have room to put that in if I want to. Okay, and I did that without unplugging it. Somebody should shame me for that. I just told you how important it was, and then I got distracted and didn't do it. What can happen when you leave it plugged in, because there's still power flowing through the board, is you can short circuit during the install a couple of the pins, causing the board to turn on and even short circuit the board to damage it that way. So that's not likely going to happen, but it's possible. It is absolutely impossible if we remove the cord, and therefore, as I've made very clear, I'm not a fan of gambling, and I always prefer to play it safe. Now, if this was not my computer, I'd be mad at myself, but since this computer belongs to me, I'm forgiving myself for that. I'm going to say, don't worry about it, don't bother me. Now you'll see there is a fan on here. This does get really hot. When I turn this unit back on now, we should see that start to spin. It's completely silent. Now, by the way, this is the first time I've taken this out of the box. I bought this months ago. It was such a good price. I think they were $200 or $250, and the person that was selling them had 2 of them. Most of the time, these sell for $400 to $500 used and $900 new. So when I saw 2 available at between $200 and $250, I bought them both because if the capture card goes out in there, I want to be able to swap it out. That has evolved to becoming, how about what if the CPU, what if the RAM, what if the motherboard, what if the power supply goes out? I'd like to have the whole unit I can swap out. So as money has come in from YouTube through your contributions, I can now afford to have effectively a backup streamer. So that's what it looks like all in there. Now check this out. Let me shut this back off. I can just tap the power button and it should cycle off. As would any computer. You should be able to just tap the button and it should go through a shut off cycle and power down. Then I can take the other panel, because we're done in here. I can just kind of get this cable out of the way, drop this in like this, and then the lid, as I mentioned, it's got the fans on it. That's gonna fit somewhere like that, and then it just slides forward, and then that's going to connect with the pin connector to provide power to these fans. And then the 2 captive screws, we can just tighten those right back up right here. Glasses. It's so tiny and it's black and it's dark. It's just a combination of messing with me here. Now these screws aren't sinking into anything. That implies I don't have that all the way in. There we go. Now we should be able. That's much better. Don't tighten these down too much. You obviously want to be able to get back in here in the future. And be sure and save your PCI slot cover. These are not normal slot covers, so I would suggest you put that away in case you ever want to pull that out and put a block back in there. Again, any slot cover will work, but it won't match. And I'm a professional. I need it to match. Customers complain about stuff like that. That's the whole build. Let's power it back up. So let me go back to, let's go back to HDMI input. And close-up camera's clear. You're good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then I'm going to grab this box the Magewell came in, and I'll just put that away. Maybe I'll throw it away. I don't think I'll ever need it. It's probably going to stay in a computer from this point forward. And then what I need to do is go to the Magewell website and download the drivers for the card, because if we look at the device manager now, there's likely going to be 4 devices that the system doesn't know what they are. So if I go to the device manager just to confirm that, there they are. There's the multimedia video controllers, one for each HDMI input. So to fix that, we're going to go to the browser. It doesn't matter what browser you use. We have a Magewell, and we need a driver for HDMI Pro. We want to make sure that any link we're being recommended is the real link and not a fraudster or an imitator. There's the download center for Magewell. We have a Pro Capture card. It's not one of these. It's this first one. It's in this family of cards. And then we have the Linux driver, firmware for low power consumption. I don't know what that is. Right up here we have driver. There we go. The Pro Capture Windows 10 driver does also work on Windows 11, by the way, but there's a separate one for Windows 7. Why they're still supporting that, I don't know. And I do see a Win 10/11 driver that's version 1304076. I suspect that's down here because the one up here is newer. 4323, is that a bigger number? Yeah, it's a much bigger number. So even though that doesn't specify Windows 11, it's clearly built on top of this one, which they do show as a Windows 11 driver. So anyway, we want Windows 10 regardless. We just want to download only. They do want you to register. Obviously, they want to know who their customers are. It's a quick download. We're going to open it with File Explorer, and we will extract it. We'll hit Extract All. Okay, now I can close everything behind it. And this is our drivers right here. And all we have to do is run the x64 executable file. This right here should do the work for us. Click Yes, hit Next, and away it goes. Drivers are installing. No third-party driver utility is necessary. You always want to get drivers from the manufacturer. Now I'll hit Finish. No reboot is necessary. I'll go back to the device manager, and now those items should be missing. Yeah, nothing's standing out. If I go and open OBS now, I should be able to add camera sources. So when OBS starts, again, I haven't carried over my configuration, so this is a blank page. I can right-click on Sources, add a video source, video capture device. Video capture device. Yes, that's what I want. We'll call this one Camera 0. Click OK. And that'll be which port? 0, 1, 2, or 3. It'll be port 0. Perfect. Click OK. Then I can add another video source, video capture device. This will be Camera 1. And I misspelled it, but we'll correct that. We'll come down here and select number 1, click OK, and then I can right click and choose to rename that and select Camera 1. Oops. And I want Camera 0 above Camera 1, so I just drag it over it. Okay. Misspelled that one too, didn't I? Right click, rename, and I'll just copy that so I don't have to retype it every time. Right click, add video capture device. This will be Camera 2. And we'll select input 2. Then I can turn those inputs off. There we go. And then finally, input number 4. And again, I want this down here. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn that input off like that. Do me a favor, will you grab the close-up camera for me? And let's see, I'm gonna walk over here. Do me a favor, unplug the HDMI cable from the camera, and I'm gonna get another HDMI cable so we can try this and see if it works. So bear with me for a second, folks. This is all live and unscripted, and I'll temporarily show you what I'm doing here by going to Camera 1 for just a moment. Here we are. So just grabbing an HDMI cable. $5.50 Canadian from Winston Liu, watching us in Canada. Says, Carrie, good day. Guten Tag, bonjour. You need a bigger case. Oh no, this is a beautiful little streaming case. All right, so here's our HDMI cable. I'm gonna pick a port. I think the top one is port 0. It could be the other way around. So I'm gonna plug it in here. Now you plug this into the camera. You can drop that cable. That's going to this capture card. Here we go. And then go ahead and turn the camera on. And let me go back to HDMI input. And I will activate camera 1.
Turn it on first.
Okay, well, no, turn it on. We'll see it. Did you turn it on?
Yep.
Okay, I got no signal, so I'm obviously, maybe try 4. Am I on the other side? 3, There, for some reason, port 0. Oh no, that's right. I had it in the wrong order. I see now. I had it right. I see. Hold on a second. Let me move these around. Put this to camera. Camera 0 should be on top. 0, 1, 2. What did I say? 4? What am I thinking? Am I on something? 0, 1, 2, and 3 is what it should say. Okay, so camera 0 right there. And then if we go full screen on that, here we go. We're ready to live stream. You'll see everything's exactly the same. You can come over here if you want. Everything's exactly the same as it is over on the streamer here. But now you get a look at what I'm clicking when I'm trying to make things full screen so I can see it. And then if you look on the back, you can see the blue lights on the HDMI ports. I don't know why they blink on and off, whether they're in use or not, but that's what they do. We have our small fan down here on the power supply. And we have a powerful multicam live streamer that will absolutely perform in every way as the big expensive streamer, but for a fraction of the price. And that's just a little tip from your Uncle Kerry. Absolutely, you should know. Finding a small computer that you can put a capture card in is a challenge. That is a challenge. You're not going to be able to put a capture card in a little tiny pocket computer. You obviously got to have a computer big enough to hold it. But at the same time, a lot of those computers people want for gaming, and so the case ends up being, this long. I wanted something small out of the way. And can you even hear it? It's whisper quiet. All right, there it is. Thank you, camera girl.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going back to camera 1. All right, we're on camera 1. Thank you. All I have to do is copy my OBS configuration, which has my YouTube stream key and upload settings, bitrate, audio preferences, and video sources already on this computer. If I have different usernames, then I have to repoint all of the file locations. But if the login name is user here and the login name is user there, then I don't have to repoint anything. It's genius. Keep the usernames the same. Otherwise, I have to go through every source because I copy them into the video folder, the video library of the user. So if the username is different, then the location, OBS will say we can't find the file that you copied from over here, because over here it's in the user subdirectory and over here it's in the carry subdirectory, and they're two different. So keep it the same, makes it a painless, huh?
Two different profiles.
Yeah, keep the profile name the same is what I'm saying. If you don't want to, then just be prepared to have to go through every single source input and change it. I wish OBS had a way to do this automatically. Or you can change the master location away from the default to be like, some generic location, but then you'll have to change it over here. Doing it this way, I don't have to change anything. I just move it over and it's done. So in any event, that's a whole streaming build for well under $1,000. That is going to set us up easily for the next 8 to 10 years, and maybe even beyond that. My biggest issue is upload bandwidth. It could come a long way in the next 10 years. We don't have fiber here yet. Parts of Phoenix do, this part does not. Typically, new construction is more likely going to have fiber than for the cable company to come out and rip up the roads to replace existing cable with fiber. They'll do it eventually. Google's already started rolling out their fiber, I think, in Mesa. That was 2 or 3 years behind. They were supposed to do this in Tempe 2 or 3 years ago. Finally, they're starting to do that. So maybe Google will offer us fiber before Cox Communications does. I don't know. But, that could take years. In the meantime, for 1080p streaming, heck, even 4K streaming, I could probably get away with it if my bandwidth supported it. My cameras are 4K, but I don't think it would offer any advantage to the viewers, honestly. Any final questions? And we will wrap it up. This turned out to be just over 2 hours. We were at 2 hours and 20 minutes. That's not bad for an unscripted, anything can happen video, where we took it from bare bones, explained everything, put the RAM, put the storage, installed the Windows, updated the Windows, put in the capture card, put in the Samsung software, the NVMe driver. We got a lot done, verified we have the latest BIOS installed, we have all the latest drivers installed, the video capture card with the video capture drivers are installed, OBS and VLC are installed, all in just over 2 hours, and all at a very casual pace. I'm not stressed. I'm not fighting the clock. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. No squeezy. Mark Gaines contributes £2. Thank you, Mark, as always. He says, what a neat little package that NUC is. Right? It's very unique. Show me another computer that looks like that. They're bigger. They're all either bigger or they're all really, really small little computers that I can't put a capture card in.
Lots of RGB.
Lots of RGB.
Yeah.
Well, thank goodness this doesn't have any of that. Thank goodness. By the way, you can go on Amazon and you can buy a Light Bright kit for about $15 and you can just put some magnets on it and you got all the RGB you want. Custom RGB. Got to be 4 years old or older though. Remember, RGB requires you to be at least 4 years old. It's not a toy. John Lewis says, thank you, Carrie, again. This is input we cannot see elsewhere. That's my goal. I appreciate that you get it. Not everybody gets it, but I appreciate that you do, John. Bob R. suggests we could add some Go Faster stickers. We could. You ever seen a race car win a race that didn't have stickers all over it? What more evidence do you need? That's how people think today anyway. Ryan in Canada with another $1.10 super chat. Thanks again, Ryan. David Herzog says, great show as always, Carrie. Thank you, David. Trevor says, I really enjoyed the video. Brilliant PC build streamer. Thank you. I'm super excited about it. Why do you think I ordered 5 of these? Now, I want to give another shout out to our friend John Wilson. John has been contributing to help pay for the shipping for the giveaway computers. And when I mentioned what a great deals these were at $350 and that they had 2 more available, I begged somebody to buy them so that I couldn't. And nobody did. And John, being the guy that he is, sends me $350. He goes, go buy one. I'm like, I don't need it. I want it, but I've already got 3. I said, how about if I buy it, configure it, and ship it to you? But he already told me he doesn't want any more stuff. He doesn't have room for it, which is my issue. But he surprised me. He said, you know, my son could use it. So see what happens when you give, I give back. So they haven't arrived yet. I ordered both of them. Damn you, John Wilson. Because he gave me the $350, I had to spend $700. Do you think I'm going to buy one and leave the other one? I got them both. But I will configure it just like this, and I'll send it back to Jack, because he's been, you can call him Jack. He's been so supportive for everybody else. He's the kind of guy that'll help somebody before he'll help himself. And if he wants to do this for his son, and he's going to be that generous, and let's face it, I don't need 5 of them. I know it's going to go to a good home, and it's going to go to somebody who's very generous. I can't think of a better person. And I really enjoy working for people like that. I will enjoy putting that together, and you know, whatever the RAM and the solid state drive and the shipping cost, he's more than covered that through his generosity. And it's so rare that I have an opportunity to give him anything back that makes me feel good when I can give back. So when you see John Wilson in the chat, well, you can hold him accountable and responsible for the fact that I'm going to have 5 of these bad boys. Now, my goal was to have a spare in Studio A and a spare in Studio B. And then I saw the 3rd one, and I bought it, and I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with it. And after the 3rd one arrived, I saw the original reseller had 2 more used ones. And that's when I made the video and said, please, somebody buy these, because I really want them, and I don't need them. I have no use for them, but they're so cool, and they're such a great value. I have to buy it because it's so cheap. I suppose it's like an enthusiast having to buy something way overpriced because it just came out. You know, look at the videos where they're reviewing the 4070 Ti. When did that come out? How hard was it to get one and how expensive are they? I suppose for me to be critical of that, I've got to, be equally critical to myself that just buying something because it's a bargain when I don't need it is probably just as foolish. But I am in business and I likely will end up either selling it to a customer or finding a use for it in-house. I just can't think of anything else I'd want to use it for other than a streamer because it's just so awesome. But you never know. Unlike the big computer towers that take up a lot of room, this is not a big deal to store off into a corner. Just like these little mini PCs I've got over here for the giveaways. I've got an additional 10 more of those that came in on top of the other 10 I haven't yet given away, or 13. I think in total we're giving away about 40 of these things. Watch for future video content if you're interested in receiving one of the giveaway computers. That'll be available primarily to military veterans and people in need here in the USA. And I give away 2 or 3 a week because I don't want to be hit with $1,000 shipping bill. So not all at once. So by keeping it down to 2 or 3 a week, it also frees up my time to actually do work instead of spending the whole week packing and shipping things, because then I'm not making any money. And it's costing me money for the shipping. So I break it apart to like 2 or 3 a week until they're gone. So we likely be giving these away through July, the way it's going. But you have to wait for the video to nominate yourself. And we hope that we can help people in need and make a difference in our community to keep people connected online safely with a decent, reliable computer provided by the community here. It's the community that makes these giveaways possible. It's those folks like Peter Laycock and John Wilson and all the super chats you saw today. All that money that's coming into this YouTube channel, it adds up, and I can use that to buy product or parts, or I saw a deal on some really sweet computers that would be awesome giveaways. I could have easily spent that money on myself, could have gone out to a nice dinner. I think this is an amazing community, and I want to give back as much as even more than the community gives me. It's like a Mr. Beast thing, except I was doing it way before him, and on a much smaller scale. I'm jealous. I like to be Mr. Beast. Can I be Mr. Beast for a day?
No.
Mrs. Beast? Hey, I'm not too proud. Thanks, you guys, for hanging out with me today. Thanks for your kindness and your support. I didn't see any issues in the chat, which makes me happy. Martin Hogg wants to know if I have any update on that Earling Chinese motherboard that wouldn't boot. Oh, it boots now. I've got it working. But I saw that they have Earling branded RAM and an Earling branded SSD, and I know they're cheap crap. And I just thought, wouldn't it be kind of fun to make sure that everything is made by Earling? So my goal is maybe in the next week and a half, well, probably be 2 weeks. I only ordered it last night. It's another $160 on top of the $150 I spent. So we're at like $300 on this stupid thing. But it does boot. It was a RAM issue, just as I suspected. I've got Windows 10 on it and working. However, in fact, I did that the same night at the end of the stream. I have to put it aside. I've got other things going on. And I'm going to postpone until the RAM, the Earling branded RAM and the Earling branded SSD arrive. And I'm going to swap out the SSD and RAM so everything is Earling branded except the cooler. If they had a Earling cooler, I'd buy it. Just because I want it to be 100% Chinese. And that'll be a computer I never sell to anybody. It's just a joke. It's just something to poke at for fun. I will get it running, but I will likely never get it reliable. Like, I can make it reliable for a while and then some driver update will come out and it'll crash it. I can almost guarantee that. You can only get these things to run reliable until you make a change, and then you'll be right back to square one. So it's fun if you don't have other work going on and you're looking for something to do and you don't rely on it. It's just a toy built and purchased for the fun of it and as a warning to other people who might be considering buying it for the wrong reasons. Oh, it's cheap, so I bought it. I bought this because it was cheap, but it's a name brand unit. I didn't buy some off-brand thing from AliExpress that I can't return. That's important to me. And even at $300, this was only $350. Although that $300 includes RAM and storage. And this didn't come with RAM and storage, but this is a better computer by, 10 times, just in how easy it is to work
You're
on.
not crying.
Yeah. So Camera Girl was a great thumbnail for that, where she changed the E in yearling. She took the little tail off the E, the middle, so it says crying instead of yearling. And we'll use that thumbnail when we do the video. But thanks for asking, Martin. It's in process. Essentially, I worked on it that night, got it up and running. It was just a RAM timing issue. Then I set it aside so it can do all this. I've got a bunch of B-Link mini PCs, budget, mid-range, and high-end that I'm going to review next week. So this coming week will be a week of B-Link, I think. They've sent me the units for free. They're not paying me to review them. I'm interested. If you've got a B-Link unit, would you buy one again? Have you had problems with it? Have you dealt with their support? Were they available and answering your questions? Or did your support requests go unanswered? If so, please let me know your actual experience. Because again, if you're buying from these companies from Asia, you may not get support, but you'll get a great price. If you buy from Amazon, you might pay a little bit more, but you have that 30-day return policy. And at least that way, if you get a stinker, you send it back and there was no risk. It might be a little inconvenient for you to take it to Whole Foods or Kohl's to return it. It won't cost you anything but a few minutes of your time. But if you've had that experience, if it's positive or negative, please let me know, because I'm curious what the consensus is. If everybody's got great things to say, maybe we can talk about sponsorship. But in the meantime, I'm not taking a side. I think they're a wonderful little value and unique. And I think the mini PCs are the way things are moving, especially for workstation replacements in homes and in businesses. They're very capable.
Case in point.
Well, this is big for a mini PC.
That's still
I'm
a
talking
mini
about
PC.
the little tiny ones.
This is still a mini PC.
Yeah, it is. But it's a unique form factor. It's not mini ITX. It's pretty close, but it's also not the super small either, because then I couldn't put a capture card in it. But in any event, yeah, this is absolutely the way things are moving towards. But we want to know if these manufacturers are providing good support. And I don't know how they can when they're in another country. So that's why I'm curious. I'm sure there's good stories and bad stories, but more importantly, if there's more of one than the other that I should be concerned about if I want to take on a sponsorship. I don't want to recommend a product that has, more than 50% of the buyers upset. On the other hand, you might have bought it and it works great. You never needed to contact support, in which case, it's a win. But again, buying from Amazon, you have that 30-day return policy, and it doesn't matter if the seller's in Asia or not. So if that's important to you, might be worth an extra $10 or $20 to buy it from Amazon. Trevor says, Camera Girl's getting better on video. Nice and steady. Well done.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Daryl says, Carrie, you're the best. Oh, thank you, Daryl. No, you're the best. Mark says, thank you. Enjoy your weekend. Thanks, you too. Hope everybody has a safe, happy weekend. Glenn's Music says, greetings to Carrie and others. Greetings right back to you. Glenn's Music says, no, I'm the best. There you go. He's got the belt. Barry Klein says, maybe Camera Girl became more steady by reducing her caffeine intake. How does he know that? All right, guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us today. We will see you all again very soon. Members only Mondays. Remember, if you're a member of the channel, not a moderator, but a member, every Monday at 1 o'clock Pacific, we do members only videos, which are much more intimate. Really just about hanging out with the contributors on a one-to-one basis where it's not so crowded and chaotic, and kind of giving them an update on what's going on behind the scenes and what's planned for the week. But I can tell everybody right now, what's planned for the week this week will be those 3 B-Link mini PCs. That'll probably be a Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I think, is already covered. And then after that, sometime the week after that, I should receive the yearling parts. So probably the week after that, I can get back to the yearling build, assuming there's nothing else going on. And then I have the giveaways to do. That's still got to be coming up. I have so many projects in the works right now. I still haven't finished putting the 13900KS into the RGB build, the big robot's foot. That's still waiting to be done. And I did get a gentleman ordered a computer from me in New York. I got him done and shipped out on Monday. And hopefully that'll arrive okay. That was using the Corsair 200R. And those things are like hen's teeth. You cannot find them. I think I have 3 left. And when they're gone, they're gone. Corsair still makes them, but they're for some reason having distribution issues. So who knows when they're going to be back in stock. So for all I know, the 3 I've got are enough to last. But as everything's moving to smaller form factor, we might be done with it. For the last year or 2 years, customers have not wanted DVD drives, which is a primary function of choosing the 200R case. And since they're no longer wanting them,
And no RGB.
my customers don't want RGB.
Right.
But I'm thinking the mini PCs, I'm starting to shift my customers to mini PCs now. Most of my customers have not yet tried them, but the ones that have are sticking with them. And I'm interested to send some test units off to a couple of my bigger customers to see if they will meet their needs. Usually the reaction is their eyes get big and they go, holy cow, this doesn't take up any space and it's just as fast or faster. Yeah, how many would you like? How many dozen can I get to you? And they're cheaper for me to ship. There's not as fragile in shipping. And they don't upgrade them anyway. So pretty much the machines, when they bring machines back to me for upgrading, we're gutting them. They're bringing machines back from 2015 that are exactly the way I built them in 2015. And those machines are 8 years old. They need to be replaced in the business. And so by the time we replace the motherboard, the CPU, the RAM, and the storage, the only thing we carry over is the case and the power supply. Well, why do that if we can do that and more in a little tiny computer they no longer have to use all the real estate for, and it uses less power. So if you've got 50 or 60 of these things, it could make a significant dent, not only in your electric bill, but in the heat coming off of them, where your air conditioner now has to work harder for the heat generated by the PCs. So these run cooler, they use less wattage, and they cost less money to purchase, and they cost less money to run. Why wouldn't you use one unless you're a gamer and you need that graphics card? So gamer's gonna game. Hope you got a big wallet. Thanks for watching. Thank you, camera girl. And she also did the thumbnail for today's video. It's a pretty good thumbnail, right? In fact, all the thumbnails you're seeing now are being created by her. And thank you for all the Super Chat contributions and the Amazon gift cards from my contributors. And I will see you all very, very soon. Enjoy your weekend. Until later, bye for now.